Perfect. So thank you all for joining during your working hours. I see all of you are joining in from India itself. This is a very exciting session. So we recently had our October release as part of Forward, and there has been quite a lot of updates and features which were released during the course of this update. And this is one of the sessions where we are really trying to give you some insights on what some of those updates are, what some of those features are, and would want to hear your thoughts, your inputs, any questions that you might have around this, any suggestions that you might have, not in terms of the updates as such, but if there are any topics that you feel you want to hear from us on the UiPath community channels, we would certainly take those feedbacks and updates and work towards those. So to address this session, we have our speakers, Rahul Unnikrishnan from Tech Mahindra, Jobin from WNS, and we also have Palani, who is a UiPath MVP, and he is joining us from Novo Nordisk. This is a small group session, so do not feel shy. Please do unmute and speak up. Any questions that you have, if you feel shy in case, which you shouldn't ideally, if you still do, please do post any of your questions on chat, and we'll make sure that all your questions are getting answered. That is it from my side. Rahul, Jobin, you can take it up from here.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Rohit, for the intro. So, hi all. So today we are going to discuss more about the latest updates that has come up in UiPath Studio 2022.10 version. So let me share my screen. Is it visible?
Not yet, Rahul. Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, so this is a brief agenda about the today's topics that we are going to cover. So we are going to see most of the important updates that has come in the latest update of our studio. Okay, so one is the Coachmark Navigator, then Data Manager. Then we are going to discuss more about a global variable and constants and profile execution, and a few of the newly introduced activities in UiPath Studio. Then a few of the updates that has happened in the design part, and integration between Studio and Studio Web, and how we can convert the legacy to Windows project, and few of the updates that has happened in the UiPath library and latest test editor and builders. Okay, so let's move on to the first topic. So these are the speakers that Rohit already provided an overview. So the first thing is that is a Coachmark Navigator. So this is one newly introduced feature in UiPath Studio. So this is nothing but like if you are a new user, or if you are trying to teach someone like how to create a basic project in UiPath and how to publish that to an orchestrator. Uh, in UiPath itself, there is one navigation mechanism that will help you to guide to create a new project and to publish that to orchestrator. Okay, so a few of the important things with this Coachmark Navigator is presenting the interface of Studio. It will help you to introduce yourself, like what are the different features that is available in Studio, and build, test, and run your automation and publish that to orchestrator. Okay, so let me go to Studio and show you a quick view of that. Okay, so suppose if you're installing the Studio for the first time, at the right bottom, you will be able to see that panel. Okay, but if you have already installed the Studio and if you want to use that tutorial, what you can do, just go to help, click on this, click tutorial. Okay, then you can see the navigation is coming up, right? So it is telling you like start your journey here, build your first automation with our help, and get familiar with the Studio. So just click on start. Then it will ask you for the process name. So let me name it like a demo 10. Okay, then you can choose the versions and all. Then once you click on create, the next navigation is coming up, right? like whether you want to go to the next thing or you want to skip from this particular step. So if I click on start means, it will show you what is this panel, what is this project panel, and it will show you a brief intro about this panel. So let it complete the loading. Okay, so if you click on next, it will go to the next panels. Okay, so it will give you an overview of like what are these features and how it can be useful while creating your automation project. Okay, so let me skip all this part. Next, got it. Okay, so the first build part is complete. Going to start. So let me click on next. Okay, so it is telling you to add your first activity. So let me drag and drop something. Okay, click on next. Oh, sorry. Resume. Okay, so I think my studio got stuck. Okay, so this is the purpose of question mark navigator. Like it will help you to navigate to different panels inside the studio by clicking on next button, and it will give you an explanation like what are these different activities and how it will be useful. And if you want to skip from some particular part means, you can skip from that part also. So it will be helpful more to a new beginner to UiPath Studio, or if you are going to tell someone like from using this feature, you can kickstart a automation. You can use this question mark navigator feature. Okay, so I hope that is clear. And the only thing is, if you want to go back again to this quick tutorial, you can go to help and open up the quick tutorial part. Okay, so let's go to next one. So this is one important update that has happened in Studio with the latest release, that is Data Manager. So what is Data Manager? So as we all know, in UiPath Studio, we have different set of panels that is available, right? Like variable panel is there for creating and managing different variables, or argument panel is there, or import panel is there, or resource panel was there. So different panels was there for managing different resources. But in the latest release, UiPath has introduced Data Manager, which helps to club all these resources or all these panels to a single panel, and we can manage everything in a single panel itself. Okay, so that is Data Manager. So Data Manager is all in one panel now available in Studio to help you manage variables, arguments, constants, namespace, entities, resource activities, connections, process, assets, queues. It means like not only the project related assets, but what are things that we can access from orchestrator. Those assets also we can access in the Data Manager. Okay, so what are the key benefits of Data Manager? It helps to view, add, edit, and remove variables, arguments, constants, connections, and file use, and view all activities related to resource and import activities. And one important thing is this Data Manager is available both in Studio as well as in Studio X as well as in Studio Web as well. Okay, let me go to Studio. Okay, so at the right hand side, you can see the new panel that is a Data Manager. So earlier we have this variable panel, argument panel, import panel, but it was specifically doing the purpose of those resources, right? But this Data Manager is having the functionality of managing different resources. So what are the resources that we can manage with the Data Manager? So these are the different resources that we can manage with the Data Manager. That is variables we can manage, or argument, constants, that is a new feature that is introduced in latest release of UiPath Studio, and resources and entities, then process that is created in orchestrator, and assets, queues, and different connections that is part of the project, and namespaces. Okay, and if you don't want to view any of these resources in the Data Manager, what you can do, just disable this feature. Okay, if you just disable it, means it will hide from the Data Manager. Okay, then you won't able to see that particular resource in the Data Manager. Suppose if I don't want to see the connection, means I can just disable it. Okay, so it will help to get a clear view of the Data Manager. And there are a few of the other buttons also available. I will go to one by one and I will explain you. Okay, so here we can see we have variables and arguments. So right in any of the automation, these variables and arguments plays an important part, right? So earlier we were using the variable panel for creating the variables, or we can directly create it from the activity itself. So now we can go to variables, and by clicking on new variable, we can create a new variable. Okay, so let me name it like demo. Here you can choose the data type. Suppose if I'm putting it like a string, and I can give any value. Okay, and another approach for creating a variable is like just click on this new. It will ask you like whether you want to create new variable or new argument. Just click on new variable. Then again you can do the same process. Okay, let me delete this variable. And another important thing is like just consider you want to create a multiple variables. So what you can do, just right click on this variable name. Then from here you can directly create new variable, or you can create new global variable. I will be talking about more about this feature in the next part. Then you can create a bulk create variable. So let me click on this. So here using the bulk create variable, you can create multiple variables at the same time. Okay, so let me delete all this. Just click on new. Let me name it like variable one, and you can choose the data type. And here itself you can choose different scope. Okay, but one important thing with this bulk update is you cannot create a global variable from here. Okay, you can create only the variable up to the scope of main, but you cannot create a global variable. Okay, so all these variables that you are creating can be managed in a single panel, and you can change the scope also. That is one benefit with this variable panel. And I hope we have gone through these variable things. And if you want to delete a variable means just right click and you can delete variable, or if you want to edit the property means you can click on edit variable or rename variable, or if you want to add an annotation to the variable, just click on add annotation, and you can give some annotation. Okay, then at the right hand side you can see a message like a symbol. It means that annotation is there, and if you hover on top of that means you will get that annotation that you have added. Okay, and you can directly convert the variable to argument as well. So just click on convert to argument, and you can see in the argument panel you got a new argument, right? So the variable is directly converted to argument. So let me hide this variable, and this is argument, right? So the main purpose of argument is like to manage the flow between one workflow to another workflow, right? So same like what we are doing in argument panel, we can create the arguments here by clicking on arguments, and by giving the in and out direction, and we can give data type, like what are the different data types that you want to choose, and you can provide the default value, and whether this particular argument is required or not, that also you can check mark here. Okay, this feature is not available in the argument panel. Okay, and same like variable, you can delete it directly by clicking on that particular variable, or if you want to convert that back to variable, you can just click on convert to variable, or if you can make the copy or edit, or you can rename it. All these things are possible here. Okay, so that's about argument. So whatever the function that is available for variable, you can do it for argument as well. And the constants, I will go deep into that in the next thing. And resources and all, we know like what are the different connections or excels or other things that is part of the project, that those things we can see it over here. And entities, if you have created any entity in the orchestrator, those things you can view it over here. Okay, so and from here also you can directly navigate to the entity that we already created. So let me go back. Okay, so data service. So the first thing is in orchestrator, we need to create the data service, and you need to create a new entity. So in Studio, we are able to see these two entities, right? Demo entity and system user. Demo entity and system user, we are able to see, and directly we can navigate from Studio to the entity as well. And you can see the different process that is part of orchestrator and the different assets that is part of orchestrator and queues that is part of a orchestrator. And if I want to use any of these credentials, what I can do, just drag and drop this, and it will give you the suggestion like which activity that you want to choose. I can just choose the activity. It will auto link the folder and the asset name, everything it will link. And here the only thing is you need to set up the other properties. Okay, that's it. Okay, I hope you understood this data manager functionality. And another thing is like here we can see a plus button. Plus button means like it will expand all the resources that is available in the data manager. Or if you click on minimize means it will minimize all the resources. And another thing is like a refresh is there. So just consider in orchestrator, you're creating a new asset and you want to view that in the data manager. What you can do, just refresh the, just click on this refresh button. And in studio, you need to check one more thing. Okay, so our studio should have connected to the folder in which all these assets or the processes are getting created. Okay, so currently my studio is connected to Autoport. That is a folder name. So let me go to orchestrator. Okay, so I can view all the process that is part of the Autobot, right? So I can see all the process that is part of Autobot folder. Okay, so all these folders are all these processes are part of a Autobot folder. And another thing is another important thing is like group item by scope. Okay, so if I click on group item by scope, okay, so here you can see the main the upper scope is global and the next scope is main, right? So in global we have one variable and in main we have another variable. Okay, so it means if in your project, just consider it's a complex project and you want to view like what is the scope of a different variable, you don't need to go to variable panel or you don't want to see it one by one. Okay, if you enable this, you can see the different scope of the variable that you have already created. Okay, and same for argument also, you can see the scope like where you have declared that argument and what is the scope of that argument, that also you can view. And another thing is here you can see a sync with active scope is there. So if I enable that and if I click on one, okay, so let me do one thing, let me create a new variable where one, okay, and scope I'm going to give it like a sequence one. Sequence one. Okay, I'm giving the value like sequence one. And if I click on that particular right line activity, okay, so this is under the scope of sequence one, right? And if I enable that, I can see variable one is there inside sequence one. And if I go back and if I click on here, that variable one got hidden, right? It means that variable one is not in the scope of sequence two, it is only till the scope of a sequence one. Okay, so that is the purpose of sync with active scope. So all these features will be very much helpful if you are going to work on a complex project with multiple variables and arguments. Okay, so I hope you got an understanding. And is there any questions regarding this data manager?
Hi Rahul, Piyush this side.
Yeah.
So is there any way we can limit the access in the data manager for certain individuals with respect to like I have say multiple assets and I just want them to give them very limited access to certain assets.
Okay, so it means like here, as I mentioned, like this studio will be connected to the particular folder, right? So if you have the access to that particular folder, which all the assets that is available, those things it will, you can see that. Okay, so if you don't want to see that particular asset mean, then for that particular user, you should not give the access to create or view those assets in the orchestrator itself.
So I will have to limit the access to the folder itself.
Correct. That you have to do. Because in studio level, you can't restrict that. The only thing is to which or folder that you're connecting from that folder, you're getting the assets. Okay. So in the orchestrator level itself, you'll have to restrict the access.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Is there any questions?
I think we are good, Rahul. Guys, please feel free to mention your queries in the chat as well, or you can stop at any point so that we can help you out to get that clarified. So,
correct.
So far, we are good, Rahul. We are
Yeah,
right to get
so I'm
some.
continuing.
Yeah.
So what's the next topic? That is global variable and constants. Okay. So let me do one thing. So global variable and constant, these are new two features that has introduced in UiPath, the latest release of UiPath. So earlier we know the scope, the maximum scope of a variable and argument is till the main, right? Till the main only we have the scope, that was the maximum scope. But now in UiPath we have a global scope. Okay, so what's the purpose of global scope? It means if you create a variable as global, that particular variable you can access anywhere in the project. Okay, so just consider you have multiple workflows and you're calling that workflows. Instead of passing it as an argument, you can get this global variable in any of the workflows. Okay, I will show you that with a demo. It will give you more clarity. So global variables are variable with a global scope, not limited to workflow or sequence within the project. Okay, so global constants are used to hold values that can be used anywhere in any workflow within the project but cannot change. So global constant is same like global variable, but we can create only few, we can create constants only with few data type, as well as we cannot change the value of the constants. Okay, so just consider in your project, you want to keep the name of the company. Okay, so you are aware like that name is not going to change anywhere, right? So it means it is a constant value, right? Wherever you want to use that name, you can keep it like a constant and you can use it, right? So in those cases, you can create a global constant and you can assign that value and you can call that constant in anywhere inside your project and you can use that variable. Okay, so that is the purpose of constant. But if you're creating a normal global variable, means you can change the value. Global variables and constants that can be used in any workflow in any scope without having to pass them as argument to the invoked workflow. Both are available in the Windows or cross-platform projects. Okay, so this global variable and the constants are available only in Windows and cross-platform project, and it's not available in Windows legacy project. And just for a clarity, if you're considering an RE framework, you know, like we will be passing this config, right? Config dictionary within different workflows. So how we are passing? We are using the argument for passing the config from one workflow to another, right? So instead of that, if you create a dictionary as a global variable, and if you can reuse that variable inside all these workflow instead of passing it as argument, that will be helpful, right? So that's the purpose of a global variable. So let me do one thing. Let me go to Studio. Okay, so I will tell you how you can create a global variable. So as I mentioned earlier, you cannot create a global variable from the variable panel. You need to go to data manager, and from here only you can create a global variable. Okay, so just click on new variable. Okay, and first thing is you need to choose the data type. Okay, what kind of data you want to save in that particular variable. So let me choose it like a string, and let me click on scope. Okay, so here at the top you can see a new scope is there, that is global. Global means the entire project you're going to give grant the access to that particular variable. So let me give it like global. It will take some time for changing the scope to global. Okay, now it has changed. Okay, then I can give any value to that. Okay, so wherever you're going to pass that value, you can access that value. Okay, so in this project also, I have created multiple workflows, right? Workflow 1, 2, like that. Okay, and this global var is a global variable, and I have provided a default value like main workflow. Okay? And here in this main, I have printed the value of global variable. Okay, then inside the main, I'm invoking workflow 1 and 2, right? And in workflow 1 and 2, I'm just changing the value of global variable to first workflow, and I'm just printing that to printing in a message box, right? And in workflow 2 also, I'm using the same variable global var, and I'm just printing that in a global in a message box. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me execute it. I'm not passing it as an argument. Okay, I'm not passing it as an argument from main to workflow 1 and workflow 2. I just declared a global variable and I'm going to access it inside workflow 1 and workflow 2. Okay, so it has printed main workflow. That is the value that we provided in main. Then first workflow, that is the value that we have printed in first workflow. Okay. And second workflow, this is the value that we printed in second workflow. Okay. So the default value is main workflow. Then after that, in workflow 1, we modified the value and we printed, and in workflow 2 we modified again to second workflow and we printed that. Okay. But if just consider, if you create a constant, okay, can we do that? No, the answer is no, because the constant is a variable that we cannot alter. Okay, the scope will be global, but we cannot modify the value of a constant. Okay, so here I have created a constant value, but the scope will be okay. So currently I'm in workflow 2, right? You can see the constant val in workflow 2, right? The same I can see in constant val in workflow 1 also. It means the scope of this constant as well as global variable is the entire project. Okay, but we cannot change the value of the constant variable. For example, let me use an assign activity. Okay, I'm going to use this constant val, and if I try to give some value, okay, new val, it will throw the error. Okay, we won't able to modify the value because it is throwing like compiler error encountered processing expression. Okay, it means we cannot modify the value of a constant variable. Okay, I hope you got an understanding about that. So let me tell you how you can create a global constant. So for that, just right click on constant, and you can provide any name. So let me name it like constant2, and the type you need to select. Okay, so if you're creating a global variable, you have the option of choosing any data type, right? But for constant, it is restricted to only to these data types. Okay, you can create text, number, true or value, number with decimal, date or duration. Okay, so let me choose it like number, and you can provide any of the number. Click on OK. Then this value you can use it anywhere within your project. Okay, so that is the purpose of a global variable and constant. I hope you understood these global variable and constants. And the next feature is a profile execution. So this is also an important update that has bring up in the latest release. So there's a new option in debug ribbon, which helps you identify bottlenecks in your workflow. So just consider you have a big project which is having some 100 or 200 plus activities, right? And the process is running for some 30 minutes, and your client is telling you need to minimize the time of execution to some 20 minutes. Okay, you need to reduce the 10 minutes and you need to make it to 20 minutes. Okay, what you can do, you will have to understand in which activity or which workflow is consuming more time, right, for the execution. For that, you can use this profile execution. Okay, so once you execute it by enabling the profile execution, it will give you an overview like how much time it is taking for each sequence or for each activity it is taking, and you can modify the particular activity. Like you can modify the timeout, or you can modify the different input methods for making it faster to improve the performance of the entire execution. Okay, to accurately identify performance issues using this tool, execute the project in run mode and not debug mode. It means like using the board, you will be executing the project, you'll be running the project, not debugging, right? So to get the correct performance, what you have to do, you need to run your project instead of debugging the project. The results of profiling session can be found in the profiling tab. I will show you how you can get it. Okay, so just go to Studio. Okay, so go to debug ribbon. Okay, so here you can see a profile execution is there, right? So let me save it. Okay, so currently this is in disabled state. So if I want to enable this profile execution, what I need to do? Just click on profile execution. Same like how we are enabling for picture in picture or remote debugging, you need to just click on profile execution. And inside profile execution, what are the different things? Like you can open the profiling tab. So if you click on profiling tab, it will open up the profiling. And currently there is no data inside it, right? So just close it. And if already one profiling is done for the previous execution, you want to import that profiling session, means you can click on this and you can choose that particular file. Okay, so once the profiling is done, it will create a UiPath profiling file. That file you can open it. That's the purpose of a import profiling session. So let me show you how it's going to work. So I have enabled profiling section. I am going to execute the file. Okay, again workflow, first workflow, second workflow. Okay, so the execution is completed and the profiling tab is open. Okay, so in profiling tab, you can see the different workflows, like main is there, workflow 1 is there, workflow 2 is there, and what is the total execution time. For the entire execution, it took around 7 seconds and 91 millisecond. Okay, so that is the total execution time. What is the project name and what is the entry point? So as we all know, like in a project, we can set multiple entry point, but here the entry point is main.xaml. And what is the execution start time? Okay, and if you expand this thing, you'll be able to get a deeper view of what is the consumption or the time consumption for different activities. Okay, so in main, we have called workflow 1 and workflow 2, and the total time taken is 65.2%, and in sequence 1 has consumed 29.3 percentage, right? And and what's the time consumption for these particular sequence one? It took around 2 seconds and 79 milliseconds. So if I want to modify the time for this workflow one, I need to go to activities and need to modify the timeout or different properties of that activity, and I need to improve the performance of the automation. Okay, so that's the purpose of profiling execution. Is there any questions regarding this global variable constant and profiling execution? I hope there is no questions. So let's continue. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So in the latest release, we have a few of the activities that is newly introduced and a few updates that has happened in the table extraction. Okay, so as we all know, table extraction is one of the main important feature in UiPath, which help to extract the structured data in the application, right? So in the new release, there are few updates that have happened in table extraction to make it more easy to use. Okay, so few updates are new menu at selection stage for extracting text bar URL on web scraping scenario, and add preview option at the element level. Okay, and new pagination link toggle with a clearer message. Okay, for if you want to enable the next button, means currently they have introduced a new toggling button and new on bar off highlighting option of confirm series of a element. So I will show you how it is going to work. Let me go to UiPath gift shop. Okay, so just consider this is your application and you want to extract the name as well as the price of different goodies that is available. What you can do, you will have to use the table extraction, right? So let me go to project. Let me create a new sequence, table extraction, create, go to design, then go to table extraction. And here the panel is open, right? Table extraction panel is open. You can click on add new column. Okay, if I click on this, okay, so currently there is no URL available for this. That's why it is not showing any pop-up for extracting the URL. Okay, so just click on confirm. Okay, so either if there is a URL associated with this, means it will show a pop-up over here. Okay, you want to extract the test or you just want to extract the URL. Okay, so as there is no correct link that is associated with this particular thing, that's why it's not showing. Or if you want to extract that particular link, what you can do, the second option is you can click on this button. Okay, so extract URL or the image source of the extracted data. So here I have extracted the text, or if I want to copy the URL, what I can do, I can just click on this and it will show you extract URL. Okay, so if you click on extract URL, it will help to extract that URL also, and you can change the name. Okay, so I'm going to give it like a name. And if I want to get the price, means I can choose that price, click on confirm, and I'll be getting a preview also. Can get a preview. Okay, so this is the data that is extracted from this page. As I mentioned, the URL is not the correct navigation link. That's why it's not extracted for the first time. And if you want to edit that particular column, you can edit it from delete from here. Or if you want to modify that, okay, you want to modify the column name, that you can do. Or if you want to convert the data type as like a number, date, time, or text, you can modify it here itself. Okay, so just consider if I want to change the price to number, means I can modify it directly here itself. Okay, then after that, if you want to get the data in a sorting manner, okay, so just consider you're going to extract a list of price from of a product. Okay, so you're searching for some iPhone 14 and you're going to extract for all the iPhone, means you can use the ascending and descending for get it in a order. Okay, so that's the purpose of the new table extraction. And here, by clicking on this, you can enable and disable the multiple page navigation. Okay, so once you enable it, it will ask to navigate the next button. And or if you don't want to go with this, means you can just disable that feature. Okay, so that's it about table extraction. And there are a few of the new activities that is introduced with the latest release. And I can provide you this link. You can go to this and you can understand like what are the different activities that has bring up. So I will give you an overview of one of the activities that will be very useful, like timeout session, timer scope is there. Okay, so just consider in your automation, you want to set a timeout for some sequence of activities. What you can do, you can use this timeout scope, and inside that you can provide the different activity. Okay, so if this particular scope is exceeded in that limit, it will throw you an exception. Okay, so it will throw you an exception if that particular scope is not completing within that particular time. Okay, so that is one important activity. And we have different set of activities that has bring up for collection and for timer as well. I will be providing this link in the description. You can go through this and understand. If there is any doubt, you can raise it in the Q&A. Okay, so I hope that is done. Okay, so I'm handovering the session to Jobin. So Jobin will be continuing the remaining sessions. So Jobin, it's up to you.
Yeah, thanks, Rahul. Thanks for explaining so far on the UiPath 2022.10 updates. And thanks, Rohit, for giving this opportunity. And thanks to Palani as well for joining here with us. I'm going to share my screen. Hope this is visible to everyone. Okay. Okay. I'm going to start with a few of the design updates. We got it on the latest version of UiPath Studio. So the first thing is view model. So previously we have a model called WPF that's we called an alt design style. So this time UiPath introduced something called view model in UiPath Studio as well. Previously this one was available with Studio Web and cross-platform projects. Now we have the same option with Studio and Studio X, which is compatible for Windows and cross-platform projects. So the main idea behind this new style is unified design experience, which means if you're using an activity on a web studio or a studio web, or let it be a Studio X project, the look and feel of your activity will be same. So for the demonstration purpose, I will show you one of the activity, how it looks like. So let's take this activity, add queue item. This activities appeared like this. Okay, so this one is built on top of a view model. So if you're hearing about view model, this is just nothing but a .NET mechanism to represent a strongly typed view. Okay, so if you take the previous version of UiPath, let's take 2022.4. So probably all of you know that this is how an add queue item looks like, right? So this is something on the WPF. So WPF is a view model, or it's a style which only supports on the Windows applications alone. So now what UiPath is did, they bring view model concept into the picture so that in all the places, the look and feel of the activity will be same. So here the add queue item is appearing like this. If I'm going to my web studio, So let me open an existing project. So here I have a activity called add queue item. So if you compare this, the look and feel of the activities are still same, right? So previously it was not the case. So when you are using something on the Studio and Studio X or the Studio or Web Studio, it's appearing differently. So by introducing this view model, we are achieving the unified UI experience. So that's the very first update on the design aspect. Let's move on to the second one. So that is on the new widgets. So there are some new widgets available which comes under the view model. So the one difference is here, these widgets will be available only on the desktop, which means it is available on the UiPath Studio, not on the Studio Web. So I will show you some of the examples how it looks like. So let's take this activity itself for a demonstration purpose. Let's go here and click on the deadline. So previously we need to set the deadline by choosing it, by entering a time or something. This time what they introduce some widgets. So widgets in the sense, this is nothing but a configurable way for an activity by introducing a specific UI component. So if I want to set a time something like 1:15 or something, I can simply go here and set this, and the value will be auto set here. So this is one of the widget which introduced with this recent update. So and, as I mentioned, this will work only for Windows and cross-platform project compatibility. Okay, I would like to explain one more thing here. So in many places you are hearing this word Windows and cross-platform compatibility, right? So we have three compatibility modes in UiPath projects, starting from legacy, Windows, and cross-platform. So the difference is not much. If you take the very first one, it's meant for a 32-bit operating system. That's a number one difference. And second thing will be when you are compiling a process, actually what it is doing, it's binding the, or it's wrapping the entire source code projects as a package. That's what is happening there. When it is coming to the Windows and cross-platform, the prime difference will be when we are compiling, it's making a DLL file, which means a dynamic linked libraries. And inside that libraries, we are performing all of the things. And second thing will be, it's a 64-bit operating system compatible. And especially for the cross-platform, well, other than this one difference is, we can run the process on multiple operating systems like Macintosh or Linux. So whereas in the case of our very first legacy thing, one thing is it is just mean for the 32-bit operating system. Second thing is it's targeting to the .NET older version of .NET framework, which means .NET framework version 4.6.1. That is the target framework for the legacy, whereas for the Windows and cross-platform, it is .NET 6. So .NET is introduced a lot of features and introduced new classes, namespaces inside that framework. UiPath is on the behind there, make use of those libraries and all. So this is an update on the view model. Now, just move into another update on the design aspect itself. Sequence designer, and there is a toggle introduced on the new release. Okay, let's go by an example itself. If you go here, previously, many of you noticed that when you are adding a new activity, let's say an if condition, an if activity, the moment I add an activity, there will be a sequence appear here, right? So now we can prevent this by setting up some configuration on the settings. If you go here on the settings, go to the design tab, then if you just scroll down, there is an options to toggle this, turn it on or turn it off. So if you turn it on, the default sequence will be hidden. Okay. So for our easy understanding purpose, I have a older version if activity. So if you take this if activity, you can see that if I'm adding a very blank if activity to a project, it will be auto generating a sequence inside the then block. So this thing is now prevented by setting up on the project level settings. Okay, this is the change on the sequence designer. Now, the another main update on this release is the code sync between Studio Web and Studio. Okay, so in order to explain this, I will go with some demonstration. Okay, let's say I have created a project on Web Studio. Okay, this is a project. Okay, so everything is created here, and I have added a log over here saying that from Studio Web. So this is there is no functionality there. Just for the understanding purpose, I added a log over here. Okay, so I'm just going back here, and if I click on the three dots and if I choose open in desktop, what will happen? This project will be opened on the studio, UiPath Studio, and you can do the relevant changes on it. So let it open. So I have already a project with that name. So just I'm going to replace the existing one. See, now on this project name SAML file, you can able to see the log which I created on my Studio Web, saying that from Web Studio. So now what I'm going to do is, the functionality is saying that the sync in code between Studio and Studio Web, right? So I'm going to add another log here, and it's supposed to be appear on the Web Studio as well. So what I'm going to do, this is the project which imported. I have some access issues on my C drive. I'm just moving this to outside the C drive, and I'm going to open this. So this is the same project which we opened on UiPath Studio from the web. Okay, all right. So now the project open. I'm just going to add another log over here. And I'm saying that from UiPath Studio. All right. Once I did the necessary changes from my studio, if I want to sync this content across the platform, what I have to do, I can just simply say save to cloud. So this will be saving to my cloud. It's almost looks like a source controlling thing, but it's behaving on a different way. So if I go here and opening the same project again, it will be taking a bit time to load. See, you can see the log which I created from my UiPath Studio here. So this is one approach. And a second approach will be, let's assume that we are creating a brand new project on the cross-platform capability. That time, If you want to add that, the simple way to do that is just go here and open in Studio. What it will do, it will just open the entire project on the Studio. From there, you can start working on it. So this is all about the future introduced sync between Web Studio and Studio. Is there any doubts in this area? I mean, whatever I explained so far. Feel free to put your queries on the chat window as well. Our team will be responding to those questions. Okay, if all good, I would like to move to the next content. So the next one will be migrate legacy projects. So here the main thing will be starting on the next enterprise release. The migrate, the legacy compatibility will be an obsolete one. So UiPath is not going to use that at all. So we will be having Windows and cross-platform alone. So which technically saying that we are not going to use the .NET Framework version 4.6 anymore. We are fully targeting on .NET Framework version 6 and beyond that. So let's say, what is this? So let's assume that we have developed some of the projects on a legacy version, and now we need to migrate it to Windows. So which means the project was built on a 4.6. Now we want it on .NET version 6. So there is a small utility introduced by the UiPath, make this job very easy. So I'm just creating a sample process. And I'm choosing it as a Windows legacy, okay? And I'm creating a project. Okay, so the moment I created a project on Windows legacy, UiPath will start showing a banner saying that it's not going to no longer available for new project in the next enterprise release. But suppose if you already developed something on legacy, that time we are in a need of a tool to migrate it to Windows, right? So this is the migration tool. What you have to do, name the project, something like meaningful name, and point to a location, then give a description, then just convert. What it will do, it will convert the project from the Windows legacy compatibility to Windows. So this is an update on this migration tool. And next one is I'm just moving to the UiPath library updates. There are a lot of new updates came with this release. So before that, before jumping into the UiPath library update, is there any specific questions on whatever we discussed so far?
I think, Jobin, we have good etiquette queries with the chat. I think we are good so far.
Yeah, okay. All right. So I would like to say there are many updates on this release for the library area. So there was a lot of limitations previously. So all those limitations are handled on this release. So the first thing when we are talking about the library, this library is only for Windows and cross-platform compatibility. So we are not supporting library or new updates on the legacy. So the old libraries will still work, but there are some new features that won't work on the Windows legacy. Okay. And another new update on this area is now libraries will work on Studio Web as well. Suppose if you have created a library on a typical case, we will be working on the UiPath Studio and making the code changes. This time, if you're created it on a cross-platform compatibility, you can open it on the Studio web as well. And main areas where the changes are happened. So rather than going through the slide, I can directly go to a library and explain that. So I have created a library for my testing purpose, or rather it's a research thing. Okay. So what I did, if you go here, this L icon indicating it's a library. Okay. So I have created a library. First, I will tell what this library is doing. So when there is an Excel file, this library will take
some
Maybe let's give a minute. I think there is a network glitch.
or an employee ID, its email ID, something like that. There will be a lot of mapping files will come into picture on a lot of processes. I haven't seen
Jobin,
this. So
Jobin,
what it
sorry
will
to
be doing?
interrupt. Just a second. I think your screen is not visible. There was a glitch in the middle.
Oh, okay, one moment. Able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, sorry for the interrupt. Yep. So what this library is doing, when there is an Excel file with key pair values, it will take the values from the Excel sheet and it will handle all the exceptions. And as an output, it will give us a dictionary. That's what we are doing here. So my agenda is not to talk about more on libraries. If required, we can have a separate connect on that. So I'm just going to touch the areas. What is the product updates? So the main thing will be on the SAML file. If you right click, now you can see a new activity layout. So what this activities layout is doing, on the previous library, there is no option to categorize it. For example, if you have two input arguments and one output variable, so we can't categorize it like it's an output property or it's an input property. So I can name this anything. Okay, it's not just saying output properties. You can name anything. Okay, so this option was not there. And as another thing will be this display name and the tooltip was not there. So now UiPath is bring these things, these limitations into the consideration, and they introduce these things. And here we have something called the placeholders and input type. Okay, so input type is technically saying whether you want to use it as a default or text one or rich text or whatever it is. There are different ways to entering a text. So based on that, we can choose this. When it is coming to the placeholders, there are two things out there. So we can say this, hey, this field is mandatory. So in order to get rid of all the arrays, we should have to provide value on this specific input argument. For that purpose, we can check on the required field. And when it is coming to the advanced only, so it's a kind of a UI docking, which means if I click this, what will happen when I'm adding the activity into a SAML file, there will be a collapsed or expanding icon will be appear. If you click on that, the rest of the things will be appearing. So this option will technically deciding whether these inputs will be shown under the advanced options or not. So let's say in this example, both the input arguments, I didn't mark it as an advanced, whereas in the case of output, I marked it as an advanced only. So I will show you that how it will look like. So this is already built and I already published this package. So you can see here. So this is the place where we are publishing. Okay. So I want to mention one more thing over here. Previously, we don't have a direct way to add package icon here. So now we have an options to choose the PNG file as the package icon. So that will be appear over here. So this is for the package icon. And if I cancel this, and coming to this activities property, there will be another SVG I can also introduce. This is for the purpose of an icon will be given to an activity. So you hope you can understand the differences. So when I'm saying this is the activity icon, whereas if you go here, okay, when you go here into the package, here you will be getting some icons, right? This is the package icon, and whatever I shown on the activity level, it's an activity icon. Okay, so this project is already built, and I already add it as a source. So I will show you how it looks like. Okay, let's delete all these things. If I go to my project, I already added this library here. Anyway, for the sake of explaining, I will going to the project dependency settings. So here, if you go to the settings, I have added a user-defined package source that is from this location. So in this place, I will be having the package file. So I'm pointing to that one and updated here, so that if I go here on my research and development, I will be able to see the library which I built on the latest version of UiPath Studio. So I named like jobins.generic.utilities. So I just planning to add a lot of utilities on upcoming days. So that's why I just named this as a utility. It could be anything useful for the project. So many times I did the publish. That's why you can able to see the name, see the version is 1.7. Okay. So I'm on the latest version. I already installed it. So in order to use that activity, what you have to do, go to your activity, and here, based on the naming conversion, the structure will be formed. And I have something called Excel to dictionary parser. If I put this one here, so I was explaining about the advanced option, right? So for the first two inputs, I didn't make it as an advanced only. That's why while you're dropping the activity on the sequence or the placeholder, you can able to see it's directly. Whereas if you want to see the output, you have to click on the advanced one. So then you can able to see this. So this is something newly introduced. And if you place your cursor over the each input arguments or output, it will say what it is all about, what we are explaining. For example, if I'm placing my cursor on top of this, it's saying that this activity is responsible for fetching any key value pair information from an Excel sheet and load them into a type system.collection.generic.dictionary string of object. Okay. So this is how it will work. So there are this is really a good update from UiPath end. So previously we need to use the UiPath Studio and make use of some UiPath libraries and interface to make all these changes. Now, without the help of UiPath Studio, Visual Studio, you can do all those things. In previous case, it's a very detailed way. You have to install Visual Studio on your devices, and you can download the template for creating a custom activity and all other things. Now, everything we can do it just with the help of UiPath Studio itself. And of course, Visual Studio will be helpful, but that is for the very detailed level of custom activity creation. So any questions on this area? Are we good with the library updates? Okay, all right. I think all are good. Then we can just simply move to the next one. That is latest text editor. So this is something introduced on the cross-platform compatibility along. So now if there is a text file on your project directory, you can open it. But if it is a SAML file or a JSON file, we can open that, but it's always on read-only mode. So I will show some example for that. So if I take this, here I have a SAML file. Just I can simply go and right click on it, and there is an option appeared for opening the same on the text editor. So it will show us the SAML code behind the workflow. So we can see this, but we can't edit this. Whereas if I have a file here, it's a text file. If I go here and open this, and if I can make the changes. Okay, let's say so I typed something and I saved this. If I go to the project directory, you can able to see those changes on the directory file. So it's appearing here. So likewise, if you want to make changes on some sort of JSON file or some configuration file, or let it be an XML file, we can make use of this thing. Okay. And the final part I'm going to explain is there are a lot of build days introduced with this release. We were using all these options before, but on a different way. So now we have a dedicated build days. Okay. So far I noticed that there are 5 different build days are there: text build days, condition builder, collection builder, dictionary builder, and finally filter builder. So this will be used for different purpose. The name itself so descriptive. When we are working around the text, we can make use of the text builder. If it is a condition builder, let's say if you are working on some statements like if, for, while, whatever, that time this will be appearing. When it is coming to collections or dictionary list, whatever, that time this will be coming. When we are working with key value pair collection, dictionary builder will be appearing. And for the filter thing will be appear on the data table wise, or we need to filter some collections based on some condition, that time this will be appearing. So I have some example for each of this category. So I will explain that. All right, let's take the first one, text builder. If you drag and drop a right line activity here, so if you go here and on the plus bar, and you can see something called open text builder. What it is doing that we will be using a lot of variables inside the scope, right? Those variables can be directly added like this. Let's say I have created some sample variables. Let's say I want to print my invoice name here. Previously, you have to put the plus symbol and search for it by the help of IntelliSense. Now it will be already listing here, just a matter of using it like this. So even I can use multiple variables as well here. So this is called text builder. And coming to the second thing, it is conditional builder. So the name is so descriptive. Condition in the sense is always associated with the statements, right? So if I am having a condition over here, if you click here, and if you are putting an expression here, so what it will, same way, one moment. Yeah, same way. If a variable having a type, this all variables are in a type of string, whereas if you have a variable which holding a true or false value, which means it's a type of Boolean, that time we can simply make use of that variable here. Let's assume that in this variable I'm holding a value true or false. I can just simply use that one here. So it's saying an error here because it's not in the Boolean type. So that's all about the condition builder. And third one is a collection builder. So when we are working on a collection, so if you go and check this data types, it's a I collection of object. So it's a collection of object will be stored into this collection object. So if you want to add so many items into that collection, then what you have to do, simply go here and click on this. It will open up a collection builder. So previously you have to write the code and pass it as an array and all. So now it's just a matter of clicking on the add entry and choose the variable you're supposed to use here. So here also the previous expression builder or the text builder will be appearing. So either you can type it or go here and choose it. So that value will be appearing here. So this will be added to the collection. And about the dictionary builder, so I'm using an activity called add log fields, right? So what it is technically doing, there will be an existing collection for log fields. Along with that, I would like to add in two more things. Okay, on such a scenario, what we can do, we can just add the key and its respective value over here. Same way on the last case, we can hit on the add entry, then give the key and its value. So it's a technically a key pair thing. So I just added, for example, if I'm working on a process, I want to state the phase and what is the state. I just added a key saying phase, it's downstreaming phase, and the state is initiated. So all these options will be used based on your scenario. There is no dedicated purpose, but based on your requirement, you can make use of these things. And the final thing is filter builder. So this is also a filter collection. So what here also we are working on a collection of objects. So this object technically having a lot of values in it. Suppose if I want to specifically take some values, go here and click on the filter. It will saying on the current item. If something is equal to 1, I want to get that. Yeah, you can do that. Or else if you, the moment you are adding the second item, it will ask for the condition. It is and or not. Okay. Based on that, you can put the second filter condition over here, and you can apply the certain condition, something like this. And we can make use of this filter builder. So this is all about the newly introduced build days on this release. So apart from that, I just missed to explain about just one feature. I will just quickly explain that and we can jump into the Q&A session. So when we are talking about the view style, right, which is newly introduced, view model, which is newly introduced on UiPath, most of you notice that if you go to the properties, it's saying that there is no properties for it, right? It's saying that click on the advanced option. If it is a collapsed one, it will saying that click on the advanced options to get those options, right? But still there are some activities which showing the properties. The reason behind that, it's still those activities are using the view model, but the advanced options are not configured for those activities. For example, let's add an assign over here. Okay, I'm going to add an assign activity here. If you see this, the look and feel is almost similar to the view model. Okay, it's on view model. Okay, but there are properties, which means all these things are listed under MISCS, and they are not meant to categorize this, or they are not meant to advance these options on the activity card itself. That's the reason we are able to see properties for certain activities. I think that's all about the updates. So any specific questions on whatever we discussed so far?
Jobin, Rahul, so can you show that hiding of variable panel aspect? I forgot to mention that during the session.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So for that purpose, you can simply go to the settings and design. And here you will be an option to show data manager panel only. So if you turn on this, technically it will hide the properties panel.
Yeah, the variable panel and argument panels.
Sorry, variable panel and arguments panel. So it's currently turned off. If you turn on this, I just need to reload the studio or restart the thing. Then that time the changes will appear. So that time these two things will not be appear here. So everything can be managed from the data manager itself. Any other questions?
Guys, please feel free to come up with any queries you have.
So
In terms
maybe
of-
we might miss some of the features introduced on this release. Maybe you can call out that. That will be helpful for us.
Yeah, Jobin. Hi, Uma this
Yep.
side.
Yep.
Yeah. So I have a question regarding the view model part you talked about. So
Yep.
I'm a bit new in the UiPath, but I would like to know if this is view model pattern, as in MVVM, is used any dependency of any plugin like Silverlight, or how
No.
about it?
Okay, I will just give an idea about that. Okay, view model is a strongly typed view which is developed on the .NET. Okay, probably if you ever worked on .NET projects like MVC projects and all, you can see that, right? If you are creating a view, there will be a class created for that view with respective fields, right? So binding all these fields and class together, saying that it's a strongly typed view. Okay. So for that purpose, when we are creating an activity on the UiPath Studio, UiPath itself representing it as a strongly typed view, which means an activity with another activity will never match or never same. Let's say that you can't assign into string, right? Same way, it's in order to uniquely identify a view or an activity, we are using the view model. And for that view model, there will be a lot of properties we can make use of it. UiPath is make use of those properties to achieve the unified UI experience.
Okay. So there is no dependency of Silverlight for that plugin or any other plugins, right?
Yeah, maybe UiPath will be internally make use of some of the things that I'm not that much aware, but I don't think there will be a dependency on the .NET library files. Not sure about the Silverlight.
Okay.
So maybe if you work on you have an understanding on the WPF, you can understand, right? It's also a graphical rendering interface to render the view, but it
Yes.
will just support for the Windows application. So now UiPath is introduced to Studio Web as well, right? So the activities we are dragging down not just on the UiPath Studio as well as on the web version of it. So
Okay.
to get the same or unified UI experience on both the areas, we are adapting this view model.
Okay. So just wanted to know, as a UiPath developer, do we need to, add this plugin or not needed, right?
Not needed. So
Not
whatever
needed.
the technology UiPath is using behind that UiPath's code system or the framework itself taken care. We don't
Okay.
want to add anything
Okay.
explicitly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Uma, it's like for few of the application, there can be requirements like we'll have to use a Silverlight extension. It's not based on the UiPath, but how the application is working. So at those times, maybe we'll have to install the extensions. Same like how we are adding that for Chrome. Like suppose if we want to do the automation for Chrome, means we have to enable the extension for Chrome. So same like that, we don't need to independently install the Silverlight for any of the automation. But in case if the application need that for the automation, then we'll have to install that. That's it.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Maybe to be more precise, let's say one thing, if you want to parse some JSON file and all, so sometimes we are importing some of the namespaces saying that newtonsoft.json and newtonsoft.json.lingu, right? So that is something based on your purpose, but internally, if you are using HTTP request, you don't want to install anything, right? Everything is taken care by the UiPath. If you go to the dependency, not install that one. If you open the UiPath.webActivities. That package, you can see that the UiPath itself using a lot of dependent namespaces and DLL files, right? So there Newtonsoft is already present. So the dependency is required for run an activity or a run a component. It's already taken care by UiPath itself.
Okay. Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yep. Just maybe still you can able to see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if you go to, okay, just a quick 1 minute. If I go here and taking this, you can see right on the dependencies. So you are not going to explicitly use all these things. It's already taken care. That's what I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
We have got one query in the chat. Saravanan. What is the purpose of having Studio in cloud, real-time project? How this can be used effectively? So I'm okay. He's not able to note this thing. Fine. So Rahul, Jobin, you want to take, or I can give the answer. It's fine. You got the question? Got to see the question from Saravanan?
Okay, so yeah, the purpose will be, let's say that the one thing will be, you have license to UiPath Studio, but you don't want to necessarily to use UiPath Studio all the times, but you just want to see minor changes or something to the existing project. So that time you can make use of it. And second thing will be, it's totally decoupled with the Windows application, right? So it's not mandatory to have you have the UiPath Studio installed on your environment and you have to develop the code. So with the same way, we can do it everything on your studio. Then later, if somebody is really want to enhance the same project or making some dedicated capabilities on UiPath Studio, that time they can just either open the same project on the studio and do that purpose. But just for the kickstarting purpose or just for the purpose of not relying on the web applications, Windows application, that time we can use UiPath Studio Web.
Yeah, and one more thing is
Adding
like,
to
yeah, the OS friendliness also. Like currently, we can use the Studio only in Windows and not in Linux or in Mac. So
Yeah.
suppose a Mac user want to use UiPath, means they can directly use the cloud version of a Studio and they can build it. And in cloud, we can create only cross platform projects. Okay, so that same project we can execute in Mac or in Linux using the UiPath assistant that is dedicated for that particular OS.
Right. So just to add to Jobin and Rahul, so the reason why we mainly use Studio Web is that you don't need to configure, you don't need to install any UiPath Studio product, and then you can directly develop from your web browser. And the most important thing is that you can easily integrate with all the online applications like G Suite, Azure, and any other online cloud applications. You can easily integrate with Studio Web. And then once you develop with the browser, drag and drop, you don't need to put any coding syntax, anything. Just need to drag and drop. You can build an easy process automation. And then as Jovin said, if you want to enhance it further, you can even migrate that, open that in desktop studio applications. You can do further configurations on that. So just keep in short, if you want to develop any process automation without installing any MSI or any XE applications directly from a browser at any point at an instant moment, you can use the Studio Web and then do the process automation. And second thing, if you want to integrate with any cloud, any other cloud applications, you can use Studio Web. So that's the foremost importance, the reason why we have cloud with Studio. I think that answers okay. So any other queries? It can be with respect to 2022.10 release or any other existing features that you want to get clarified with Studio. Please feel free to come up with that question.
Hi guys, Shan here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Shan. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have doubt about UiPath Web. Suppose one guy is developing on UiPath Web and the same project that is being edited by another user in the UiPath Studio, then what will be the outcome? Or actually UiPath allowing to do that?
Actually, when we are trying to access the project which you're building on Studio Web to UiPath Studio, that time the project need to be closed.
Okay, that is from the cloud, right?
That is from the cloud.
Okay.
And
It means
at-
like, yeah, at the same time, we can open an instance of project either in web or in Studio. Because if you try to access a project that is open in web means, it will throw the alert like another instance of a project is already opened. Then we have to close it in web, then only we can access it in Studio.
Okay, yeah, fine.
that link will say something that it's already locked. That's one case. And the second case state, if a project is connected with Web Studio, then it is already connected with your UiPath Studio as well. When you are closing the studio, it will be automatically saving to the Studio Web.
Okay, yeah.
So guys, you have any further queries? I think Rohit, you're there. Or can I
I
also
think
mention?
Rohit is not there. So.
Yeah, I got to see that. I think that was that's fine. Hey, thanks, Kesh. Thanks for joining. All right. So please feel free to ping us at any point if you have any further doubts with the features, either directly to us or in the forum, so that you get response on top of it. And then for any further collaboration contribution, you can you can reach out to us, and then we can do further sessions on whatever topics we can take it further. Oh, cool then. People, if possible, can turn on the camera, just take a picture and then wind up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Jobin, can you help me with that?
Yep, I will do that.
Hey, Mukesh. Hi, Sean. Hi, Shreyas, and hi, everyone. We'll just turn on your camera, just take a picture. Done.
Just give me a moment. Stay on.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool then. Thanks everyone for joining. It was a pleasure having you all. Thanks, Jobin, and thanks, Rahul. It was so informative, and I'll see you again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for joining. Bye.